Welcome to history. A small step for mankind. What do you say? How does it go? One great jump? Giant leap for mankind. Okay. So welcome to the 21st century technology of being Marbit's Torah. This week's Parshas Vayeitzei, and again, our subject matter over here, the theme of this Shiur, is what we refer to as trying to take a little look into Pnimis HaTorah. So I look at this Shiur not so much as a Shiur, but rather it's an exercise in self-discovery, right? Or discovery of ourselves, the Pnimis of ourselves, through the Pnimis of the Torah, and a little Pnimistic understanding of the Hanhaga B'Kadosh Baruch Hu. Just a story one of my favorite stories about just to bring out this idea of a Pnimistic look at the world. Right, we tend to look at the world, Ma'isa Adam and a Behema Ayin Ka'Kol Havel. We tend to look at the world as sophisticated animals, and Be'emes, we're meant to look at the world as much more pnimistic, as Malachim is supposed to look at the world as a ruchnistic place. Just an example of a ruchnistic cook on the world. Everything in the world has a zachrus and a nakvus to it. There's the koyach hazachar in the world, which is obviously the male population, and amongst people. Right, you know, lashon kodesh. Every noun has a lashon zachar, a lashon nekeva, and then you have the nekevas of the world. In the olam ha Kabbalah, right? So the inyan of zachris is a mashpia, which is synonymous with the shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is Hakadosh Baruch Hu, who is mashpia mahabes hakol, hayay v'yim mahabes hakol. And the nukva is known as the shem of Adnus, Aleph Daled, okay, which is the keli of the world, which is the b'chin of Malchus, which corresponds to the to the nekevas of the world. Okay, I mean, if you want, al pi Torah, in marriage, the yichud of marriage is that the husband's mashpia, and the wife is a klei kibul to be makabel all the hashpah. Once she's makabel all that hashpah, so then she naturally can mirror it back, just like the shemesh of the Derech, and all the mishalim of mashpiyim and mekablim. Yitzchak Isaac Chaver said about himself, after learning a lot of Kabbalah, Yitzchak Isaac Chaver was the Talmud of Talmidei Agra, and the big Mekubal. He said, when he looked around the world, he says he no longer saw women walking around. He saw Shem Aleph Daled walking around. This was his cook. Isha's not chitzonistic if yours. Isha's an Isha. Whatever the chitzonis of Isha is, and all the ashpos and the nisyonis that brings into the Welt, and his cook of the Welt was an Isha, Shem Aleph Daled, a Mekabel. And when you understand what that means, and you understand the midah of a woman, and it makes Shalom Bayis a lot easier when you understand that the mitzias of a husband and wife is a mashpia and mekabel, and to expect a mekabel to be a mashpia is obviously not going to work. And to expect them, and when a mashpia is in the mass of being makabel, it doesn't work. And when the hierarchy, when there's everyone understands what they are and they play their role, that is a perfect partnership, and there's harmony. Sidebars. No, this Shiur is not for feminists. So that's a pnimistic cook on the Welt. Not a story. I'll tell you a story. One of my favorite stories. The Heilige Rebbe, the Rizhin, Rabbi Yisrael Friedman of Rizhin, was sitting by his table, and the Gabbon put down in front of him a bowl of kompot. Okay, it's a bowl of fruit, cooked fruit. And he looks at the bowl of fruit, and the average person looks at a bowl of fruit and says, "Wow, looks delicious, right? Maybe I'll have some." Rabbi Yisrael Rizhin tells the following Maisa. He says, once upon a time, many years ago, my Elter Zayda, who was a Maggid of Mezrich, of Dov Ber of Mezrich, who was a Talmud Muvak of the Baal Shem Tov, went to visit the Baal Shem Tov in Mezhebish, and he walked into the Baal Shem Tov's base Medrash, and the Baal Shem Tov is not there, but he sees the Baal Shem Tov's Shabbos beged is hanging on a hook in the corner of the room. He goes over to the beged, he touches it, and as he touches it, he starts shaking with fear. He's gripped with the panic of the kedusha of the Baal Shem Tov that was shayra on the beged of the Baal Shem Tov, and he started shaking from head to toe, and he could not calm himself for a certain amount of time, whatever amount of time it was. So the Rishon made the following observation of this story. He says, the Zayd of the Mezrach Magid wasn't a Pashut Yid. He was a Greised Tzaddik. And Meidach Gisa, the Baal Shem Tov was a Greised Tzaddik, but he's not a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the distance between the Mezrach Magid and his Rebbe was quite far as Kedusha goes, but it wasn't a huge gap. Right? And Afal Pikein, when the Mezrach Magid came in contact with such Kedusha, he shook from head to toe. With this, the Rishon says the following statement: the ganze Welt is a levush of the Yibbono Shalom. And with this, he looks at his bowl of kompot, and he's nispal at this levush of the Yibbono Shalom. Lachas kama v'kama, we have to sit there from head to toe when we come in contact with the levush of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And with this outlook of a bowl of fruit, the Rishon went into a matzav of dveikus. This is a pnimistic cook on the world, and it's not something that not for the faint of heart, right? And I don't necessarily recommend this for your bowl of cereal in the morning. However, if chas v'shalom you're davening Shemona Esrei one day, and you connect, and you do feel a sense of awe from the Yibbono Shalom, don't get blown away from that you're bipolar. You have to start taking your medication. If you start shaking once in a while from your avodas Hashem, don't worry about it, right? It's real. It's good. You connected. Did I say with the Maisa last week with the Baal Shem Tov? I said it last week? Okay. So if you connected, you're meant to connect. You're wired for Pneumius. And when you connect to the Pneumius, you can expect to have a totally different sense of your avodas Hashem. The whole world is very afraid of Pneumius. Why? Because they gauge themselves from the Chitzonius. And they look at themselves in the mirror, and they see a Chitzonius, a person in front of them. They see a guy with nice hair, nice clothing, and they know that they see the tan from the hours on the basketball court in the bungalow colony, and they see a Mekushim Dika person in front of them, and they know when they look through their checklist of all their Maisim Toivim and Maisim Haloi Toivim Chas V'Shalom, they know that on the Chitzonius Dika level, we're not exactly the most heilige mention. And Mela, they say, listen, I know Chitzonius, I'm nothing special or nothing great. So therefore, let's try to keep the Pneumius in check with our Chitzonius, right? Because it's not honest for me to be sitting in Shemona Esrei actually davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as if I care. Or it's not honest for me to make a bracha out loud as if I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu really, when I know that when no one's looking, right, I'll watch a Jet game, right? So I'm going to go to shul and make pretend, and I'm going to show that I care, or I'm going to make a bracha out loud. I'm going to do anything that shows the pneumius rotzen inside of me when I know in my chitzonius it's not consistent. And this is like a very American type of view. You have to be honest. We're honest cowboys, right? We don't act different than what we feel, or we don't. And in this situation, we don't feel different than the way we act, right? But the emphasis is there's no greater lie, and there's no greater chachma of the Yetzer Hara that he convinces people that this is the way you have to feel, because the emphasis is there is a chiyuv of a person for him to really bring his pneumius out with the full kayach of his pneumius. A person has to have the eish shalheves ka being boyer inside of him. He has to feel like there's a nuclear reactor inside of him, despite the fact that he knows that he may not be able to take this nuclear reactor and actually light up the city with lights. Because when it comes lemaisa, he's a ben adam. But for a person to say, I'm not going to inspire myself, I'm not going to allow my rotzen to grow to become a flame to the highest levels of Dveikus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not only is it a mistake, but it's aser. A person is not allowed to extinguish an eish that's inside of him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put it in the Neshama Kedosh that's sitting and inspiring a person, and people are constantly dousing it with cold water, watering it down because they feel it's going to make inconsistencies in their lives. I heard a word from Rabbi Gedal Yeshur. I heard it from him himself, because it was on a tape. And he made the following statement. It's a half a dick of art, and it's really something that can fuel our outlook. He mentioned last week, and it's really a Bria Chatichin in all Sefer Bereshis, which is the entire Sefer is a Sefer of Bria. And in Bria, every chelik of Bria always has Mitchila Olam Machshavta Shal Kadosh Baruch Hu Livra as Olam Midas Adin, Ra Shein Olam Miskayim, and it was Mitzvah Midas Harachim and Midas Hachesed. Zot Rab Gdal Yeshur, he says, inasmuch as HaKadosh Baruch Hu was Betchila Olam Machshavta Livra as Olam Midas Hadin, he says in Olam HaMachshava Midas Hadin is Chai V'Kayim. And if a person veers even a kiyuzeh in his ratzon, in his machshava from a full dveikus, a full connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu, there's a tzvi of midas hadin, because in olam machshava there's nothing holding you back. Ra she'eino olam hamayis miskayim b'midas hadin, Kadosh Baruch Hu is mitzaref to midas harachim and midas hachesed in the olam hamayisa. But in the olam machshava, the olam of ratzon, the olam of ratzon, there's no excuse, and the taka midas hadin. If a person thinks for a moment I could chip away at my dveikus and my pnimius and my cheshik for total hisbattlus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's a tzvi of midas hadin on such a mindset. And such a mindset is very common. The average person thinks that leaves the tzidkas and tzaddikim, I'm going to be a pasha to yid. Don't bother me with the tzidkas. Where's your ratzon? If you want to lament the fact that I don't have the koyach, I don't have the ability to follow through, I don't have the tenacity of the biggest tzaddikim. But for a person to think for a moment, tzidkis is not for me, it's mamish kfir, and the chas v'shalom, there's a midas hadin in such an attitude. So this idea, I think, is really as far as I'm concerned, the whole tachlis, at least from my point of view, the whole tachlis of understanding pnimius HaTorah and anything that's pnimi is to ultimately bring out the pnimi. The pnimius there's always a tremendous ratzon, there's a tremendous cheshek in this outlook of Torah. The chitzonius of the world is very depressing. You shouldn't really say that word. Everyone's going to hire me a therapist. But the chitzonius of this world is depressing, right? I mean, maybe the Mesilas Yesharim needed a therapist, but Mesilas Yesharim says it's not shaykh for any bar das to think that this world has any value for the world itself, because Olam Hazeh is malei yisurim, malei letdowns, right? The people with the highest expectations from Olam Hazeh are the ones that B'chai Metal tell us, right? Kifi she'ifas for Olam Hazeh, kifi, the amount of Kool-Aid of Olam Hazeh you drank and you're convinced you're going to get it. That's mamish the kifi. That is the amount of depression a person is going to have. So Mimela, the pnimius, when you can look at the world in a pneumistic way, and a person will look at himself and says, "Listen, I'm not where I want to be in Olam HaMaisa, but it doesn't stare me because in Olam HaRatzon I'm there." And he knows that he's connected, and he knows that there's always a chance to do tshuva. He knows that there's a chance always to be a little bit better. Then all of a sudden the whole world takes on a positive light, and the world is mali ayir v'simcha instead of being judged by the chitzonius. This is the whole tachlis of Avodas Hashem. Avodas Hashem is HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in an Olam HaShafel. It's not by chance we're in Olam HaShafel. It's not by chance that we're in a chitzoniistic welt that is mole built into it failure in the chitzonius shabai. A yid's whole avodah is to be in an Olam HaShafel, an Olam of chitzonius, and to bring into it the pnimius. This is our whole avodah. This is what makes us yidden. Yidden are wired into a Olam HaShafel as literally those nuclear reactors, or as the pasuk describes Yaakov Avinu in this week's parsha, which is really the role of every yid. V'hinei sula mutzav artza v'roisha megia shemayma. Chazal tell us that this mashal of sula mutzav artza v'roisha megia shemayma refers to Yaakov Avinu himself. Yaakov Avinu realized that I'm not a ben Adam. I'm a sula mutzav artza. Just my feet touch the ground. But be'emes v'roisha megia shemayim, I span from Olam HaShafel Hazeh all the way up to the highest Olam, right to the Kisleiv covered, whichever Olam we're going to call it, to Olam HaTzilus. This is what a Yid is. A Yid is a Sulamutz of Arz, a Rosh Megiah Shemayim. And the tachas of the Yid is to use his Rosh Megiah Shemayim to mashpia all the hatava and all the tikkunim all the way down to Olam HaShafal Hazeh Daika. It's not by chance, it's not by fault that Klal Yisrael is in such a megushim dika place, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Dafka here is where the tikkunim are going to be made. Dafka over here where there's so much void of Kedusha, there's so much work to be done. And we're wired for that. This is the madrega of Klal Yisrael, and we got this madrega through the avodah of the Avos. In the Kabbalistic terms, this idea of bridging Shemayim and Aretz is referred to as Yichud Kutcher B'chu Shchintei. Before we do any mitzvah, before we do any mitzvah Ma'asim Tovim, there's Indians. Either you say it, or you think it, or you don't think it, Stam Lishma. But the idea is L'Shem Yichud Kutcher B'chu Shchintei. What does that mean, L'Shem Yichud Kutcher B'chu Shchintei? Well, in Kifi, what we're explaining is you're an Olam HaShafal, and there's a void of Kedusha over here. It's here. It's very behester. And our job is to make a yichud, to make a connection between Kutcher B'chu, which describes HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Olam Misal Yonim, we'll say Shemayim, and Shchintei is the Shchina Shayir Ba'aretz. Our job is to make a connection between HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Mekaymis of the world, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed there to be a void, allowed there to be a hester. And when we do every mitzvah, everything we do, a Yid is making connections and making tikkunim of b'miyachid, these madregas of Shemayim and Aretz. In Oisius, in Shemos, Yichud Kutcher B'chu Shchintei is defined as b'miyachid two Shemos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Yud Kei Vav Kei, like we described, is the mashpia, and Olam HaShafal, Olam HaTachtin, which is the Mekabel, Olam HaSiyah, is the Shem of Aleph Daled. Okay, Aleph, the Kri of Yud Kei Vav Kei. The gematria of both of them, 26 and 65, is the gematria 91. 91 ends up being a very big number in Avodas Hashem. It describes the Yichud Shlim. It describes all the hashpos of the world and the mashpim and the mekablim being in sync. It would be called a zivug. It's called a yichud. It's a total connection. That's what the number 91 signifies. The yichud of Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and Aleph Dalet. Just to say a word on the Inyan. The Avos were Megal of this side, right? Like we spoke about last week, the Avos were not just living in this world, they were building the world. They were making the world a place where there's a Makam Avodah. In order to make the world a Makam Avodah, the Avos made this connection. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they took a world that was totally disconnected and disarray, and they made a connection between Shemayim and Aretz. They made that Ikar Yichud. They made the Takana. They were misakin these tikkunim that the Shemayim and Aretz are now connected. Their avodah is mashpia on the Welt. They embedded themselves into the DNA of the Bria. And that's why they're called Avos, because they're be'emes, they're embedded into the DNA of the Bria. They created a totally new Bria. The Avos were misak in this inyan. They were buried the Welt that now we could do avodah, now we could get down to work. And this inyan of Yichud Kutcher B'chu Shchintei is the higher madregas connect to the lowest madregas. Okay? The lowest madrega is called Malchus. Malchus is the Mekabel. Right? A woman, Aleph Daled, is Malchus. It's the last of the 10 spheres. Okay? You start from Keser, or you start from Chachma, wherever you start, you end up by Malchus. Okay? So when you talk about Yichud Kutcher B'chu Shchintei, you're talking about, we're going to describe it as the 9 upper spheres, 9 upper meters connecting to the lowest madrega, to everything in sync. Okay, we'll describe it like that. It may not be 100% accurate, but that's a basic idea. the avodah the Avis was this connection of the lowest madrega being connected to the highest madrega, to the 10 madregas above it. For this reason, when the name of one of the names for the midah of Malchus is Meiser. The mitzvah of Meiser is bringing out the bechin of Malchus, because you're taking the 10th midah, right, and you're connecting it. So you're taking the 1 out of 10, echad me'asara, and connecting it to the asara. That's avodah Meiser. In last week's parsha, we have Esav Tainid, that he's right for the brachas, the birchas Avram. Esav is Isaac in the mitzvah of Meiser. He's being Miram, his father, he's being Isaac in the mitzvah of Meiser. What's his inyan being Isaac in the mitzvah of Meiser? What's up his Meiser? The answer is, Esav was telling Yitzchak, I'm Isaac, I'm Ish Sadeh, I'm an Olam Hazeh Dika Mensch. We're here to make connections. You have to give me the brachas. Right? Because I'm the Ish Sadeh, I'm the one that is on the ground. I'm feet on the ground over here. Yaakov is sitting in the base medrash. He's a Himmeldika Yid. He's in Shemayim. He's maybe part of the scheme of things. He may be part of the connection, but he's not the one making the final connection to Olam Hazeh. I'm Esav. I'm Asiyah. Right? And look, I have all shtickach Torah about Hilchos Meiser, because that's my avodah. I'm Meiser. Zok Yitzchak, Zok Esav weiter, to me comes the brachas. The brachas are brachas of Oretz. Mital Shemai Mishmani Oretz. This comes to me. Yaakov Avinu, he's someplace else. He's higher up on the totem pole. The Megala Mukha says a word. He says, Mital Shemayim Umishmani Oretz. He says, Tal is 1/10 of Shemayim. Shemayim is 390. Tal is 39. He says Tal is 1/10 of Shemen. He says Mital of Shemayim umishmane. The Tal is going on both Tal of Shemayim and Tal of Shemen, right? Which is mamish this nekuda, right? That you were talking about. The bracha is the 1/10, the last 10th of Hashpah, that last final connection of the 10 madregas is Aretz, where I am Ish Sadeh. I get Tal of Shemayim and Shmani Aretz. Okay, so that's Esav's talk about his Miram, his father, Heich V'asin es Tev, and Heich V'asin es Melach. A person like me who is Asiyah, the final Madrega, deserves the brachas of the Echad Me'asara of Tal Shemayim Shmani Aretz. Agav Tal, the meaning of Tal is B'gematria Hashem Echad, which is that even in Olam HaShafal Hazeh, the Tal Oireis Talecha tells me that there's only Hashem Echad, and Olam Hazeh and all its chitzainis is not a stira to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in this week's parsha, Yaakov, when he reaches this bechina of Sulam Utzav Artzav, Reish Megiah Shemayim, he realizes he's the connector. He earned this madrega. What does he tell his father? V'chol asher titeni asa asvenu lach. Okay, this is the Briach HaTichain of the avodah, and at least the conversations over here between Yitzchak, Esav, and Yaakov, that we need to connect Shechina, the Shemayim Biz Aretz, and Yaakov is now that person. And this is what Yaakov Taka says in this week's parsha. Yaakov says, Achein yesh Hashem b'mokim hazeh v'anoichi lo yadati. What was Nischadish now? Achein yesh Hashem b'mokim hazeh. Right? The taich is that Yaakov realized now that we made the connection, Yesh Hashem b'mokim hazeh, mabish here, in Olam HaShafal here right now. This is a nayazach. He realizes we struck gold over here. We made it, right? The Bechir Shabbavis is here, Klal Yisrael is ready, and now it's time Lisa Isha to start the avodah of this connection Shemayim v'Aretz. So Rabbi said, when you get home tonight and you think you see a house, right? Make no mistake, it's not a house. It's Achein Yesh Hashem b'mokim hazeh. And if you think it's an Eichel Lo Yadati, now you know. Good Shabbos.